It's like the ocean, actually. Grief, it comes in waves and you don't even see it coming. Just the smell, it could be anything. And then you're right back in the waves and the depths of grief, but then you can come back up and see the blue sky. It is one life we have, so we have to really use it wisely and give back and have impact with what we're doing.
Welcome to the Habit of Possibility podcast, the show about turning obstacles into opportunities. I'm your host, Robbie Spier Miller. Today, we welcome Kristina Shea, who is going to share with us how moving through grief helped her find the strength and courage to become the powerful businesswoman she is and inspire others. Kristina is a creative strategist, entrepreneur, Burlington Chamber of Commerce board director, and founder of two purpose-driven ventures, Blue Sky Blue Ocean Agency and WomanUp. Hello, everybody. This is Robbie Spier Miller, the host of the Habit of Possibility podcast. And today I'm here with Kristina Shea, who is the owner of a business called Blue Skies Blue Ocean. And she's also starting a platform to help women succeed more called WomanUp. Welcome, Kristina.
Well, thank you so much, Robbie, for having me here. I always admire you very much about how you support other women in business, but also just with growth mindset, which is very much something that I'm all about.
Yes, likewise. Yeah, we have a lot in common that way. So talk a little bit about your business name, like Blue Skies, Blue Ocean. What's that all about?
Oh, well, thank you. I know people ask me a lot about that. Blue sky thinking is really my ethos, where it came from. And it's blue sky thinking is, a lot of people have heard the term, but they don't really know what it is. It's about thinking that anything's possible. It's expansive thinking, that there's no ceilings. To me, it's not the sky is the limit. The sky is just the beginning. So thinking past your fears and going for it. And sometimes it's thinking out of the box, absolutely. Innovative thinking, but also a growth mindset and elevating yourself in terms of your self-belief and throwing away a lot of those fixed beliefs that we have that we can't do something. So throw away those terms like I can't, I'm not ready, I don't have the experience, whatever it is. It's just thinking forward and upwards. And blue ocean, well, I am a scuba diver. So that is one of my big loves in life, is diving into the deep and exploring new worlds. So it's sort of the opposite. It's going deep, but going high at the same time. And Blue Ocean Strategy is a marketing term. So my background is marketing PR. So I really help businesses with Blue Sky Think and Blue Ocean Strategy, and really revitalizing if they need to revitalize or launch their business or an initiative, and think out of the box, think differently, to really accelerate what they want to achieve.
Yeah, cool. Well, I love the ocean metaphor because one metaphor I use sometimes with people is talking about how if you just are on the surface of the ocean, like maybe you're swimming at the surface or you're snorkeling, the ocean looks very different than if you go scuba diving, you see what's at the bottom. And knowing that helps see more possibilities, because depending on how you're interacting with the world, you're going to be experiencing in a different ways.
Absolutely. It's really a new world. Like as Ariel says, it's totally a new world. And you go under and it's like you're just free, right? You can see the fish. You can float with the fish. You see the coral. And then if you go deeper, you see the big animals. Like I've dove with sharks. I've dove deepest dive you can do, the blue hole, which is quite, it's exhilarating. But it was also me getting out of a lot of my fear. For me, it was a personal thing as well. But for me, it's just a new adventure because we can't see it. As you said, if we're on the surface of things, it's going deeper and really exploring. And you know a lot more about yourself, too, because you're learning to breathe and control and regulate yourself. And I think scuba diving, everybody should try it if they can. It's just something that I think everyone can do in a pool, but it's much different when you go out in the ocean, right? That's when you experience it's like life, the waves and the coming when you first get, you're like, oh my God, I panic every time I get out, like a dive in. And I've been doing this for a long time because it depends on the weather, right? Mm-hmm. So the waves are crashing and you're trying to calm yourself and descend. So it's sort of life, right? You're throwing a lot of waves. It could be calm 1 minute and it could be wavy the next, or stormy. And you really have to navigate yourself. But there's also a lot of treasure sometimes at the ocean. Bottom of it, maybe not pirate treasure, but maybe, you see something really amazing. I've seen so many things that, just beautiful angelfish to sharks, right? So, or sea turtles that I've really connected with and swam with. So yeah, it's something. And then you can see even in my earrings here, I have ocean. They're blue. I don't know if you can see from in the camera, but yeah, so I really do kind of embody, and blue is my favorite color.
Yeah, that's awesome. I did go scuba diving once and it was awesome. I'm really glad I did it. But I'm one of those people with ear problems, so it was very painful for me. So I'm glad I went once just to have the experience. But it's lucky that your body can tolerate that.
Yeah, you do have to be careful because I mean I have had some incidents in myself, so you definitely take your life into your hands, just like going out there in the world. But if you're doing shallow dives, and yes, if you have an ear problem, you have to be careful. But you can do a shallow dive 25 feet, and which is relatively safe. You don't have to do 150 feet like I've done. But it's just it's all preference. But it's really more of a metaphor in life, right?
Yeah, yeah. Talk a little bit about when you started to realize that there was more out there in the world.
That's a great question. I know that you know a little bit about my past, and I have lost, had some significant loss in my life. I've lost 2 husbands suddenly, both differently, but tragically suddenly, and I'm a single mom as well. But in terms of really thinking and thinking I could do more or be more or see more, I just realized, I guess, that I have one life to live. And I want to see it all. I want to be used up at the end of my life, but in meaning like I want to do things that have impact, but also for personal growth. So I felt those losses actually, even though they were very, very difficult, believe me, they were very challenging. I had some very, very dark times. And it's like the ocean, actually, grief, it comes in waves and you don't even see it coming. So one day or 1 minute, you might be totally fine, and then something triggers you, or just the smell, it could be anything. And then you're right back in the waves and the depths of grief, but then you can come back up and see the blue sky, right? But so it really made me realize that I have to live my life large, at least for me. You do that differently. Sometimes it's not doing the big things. Sometimes it's doing the small things and having freedom of time. But it's really, for me, it's about grabbing it, taking hold of it, and experiencing those moments, savoring the little moments, the big moments, and taking sometimes risks that maybe you wouldn't have taken otherwise if I'd lived a very safe life with a white picket fence and 3 kids or 2 kids or whatever. I have 1 daughter, but I think it made me realize that I have to live, and it is one life we have, so we have to really use it wisely and give back and have impact with what we're doing.
Yeah, for sure. And in a way, having those extreme experiences, you don't have a choice when they happen, but it shows you that there's no point to fear, right? Unless there's a real life reason for fear.
Yeah, obviously there is some maybe don't go dive with the sharks if you're not comfortable with it.
Right, yeah. So there's a place for it, but a lot of times we're fearful when there's no real reason to be fearful. If you're enjoying this podcast, please like and follow us and post a review so other people can find us too.
I totally agree. A lot of that's like training that we've had since we've been young, especially women, I feel, whether it's inherited or from society or from our families, and what we're told that we can't do this or we can't do that, or we're too young, we're too old even. Like, that's a big one right now. I hear that all the time, and sometimes I have to talk myself out of it. But in terms of the grief, people talk about healing, and yes, it's important to heal, but I don't know if I'll ever be healed from grief. As I said, it comes in waves, but I feel it's important to keep moving forward, swimming, keep swimming, because if you just sit there and wait to be healed, you're never going to go anywhere. And who's to say if you're healed or not, to be quite honest. So I just use it to propel me forward, to remind me, and I've had some very much ups and downs, even beyond, losing somebody. Like, I lost 2, but it's really, I had to really be strong, which I know I don't really like that word, because people always would say, oh, you're so strong. I'm like, I don't feel strong. I'm just, swimming, surviving, because
you had to move through it. You didn't have a choice.
Exactly.
So you did.
Yeah, we don't have choices. I mean, there is a choice. There's a choice. People would say that to me. How do you do it? I'm like, well, there's only 2 choices: you do or you don't, right? So I'm not going to curl up in a ball and close the closet, or worse, And I had a daughter to think of too. So the second time with her father passing very suddenly, and I just wanted to be a role model for her. Was I the perfect mom? Absolutely not. It was very, very rough. I worked a lot of hours to, put her through school and university. But I felt it was I didn't have time to feel sorry for myself, I guess you could say. I had moments where I would cry, when I go to bed or something. But in general, we decided, and together too, that we would be a team and we would work together. And, and we would be, but I always said I'd be beside her, in front of her, or behind her, wherever you need me to be. And she's turned out to be such a mature young woman, and she's gone through a lot herself. So I think resiliency and adaptability is what came out of it for me, losing someone, but also an appreciation for life and empathy for others.
Yeah. Yeah. And what you're describing is that when this emotion comes over you, like, we feel emotion, we're humans. That's a good thing, though we're not robots.
Yes.
And so when it happens, it can be like a wave and then it subsides. So it's not like all there is, it's just something that happens, and that you're able to move through it. Whereas when people get stuck in self-pity, they're making that emotion the way their whole life is.
Yes, and sometimes it becomes a pattern, right? So they cling to that in a victim mentality. We've all been there, right?
Yep.
But
Yes.
I know I have. But it's like, okay, I used to do this, like, just talk to myself, and I'm like, enough, Christina. I'm like, get up, go do something, go for a walk, go to the gym, go work on that project, go be a good mom, go, whatever, go take your daughter to a park, whatever, go feel the sunshine on your face. You can't do that. I mean, if you do, it's very sad. And we have moments where we do, and that's okay. But it's really about getting back up. And I always keep going back to swimming, but swimming through it. And, there's rough waters and there's calm waters, but that's life, and that's really living too. And if you always are living in calm waters, you're not growing.
Yeah, and I think this really speaks to the importance of having a compelling mission in your life, which could be all kinds of things. But if we have a mission, like as a mom, there's a mission to be there for your child. Then you have the courage and the focus to do things you might not do if you didn't have that mission in place. So I think that it really helps people to live better lives when they have some kind of mission. It could be as a parent, it could be through the work you do or through volunteering. It could be simply having faith that somehow you're here for a purpose, even if you don't know what it is, because sometimes we impact people in positive ways and we never even know. So there's that as well. Like my dad passed away a few weeks ago, and it was time. He was, it was time. And he, he lived a good life overall. And it was interesting because one of his nephews came from Montreal to Toronto for the funeral, and he spoke at the funeral. And this is a nephew, he's my first cousin, but we didn't really know each other very well. And I didn't know of my dad being close to him. But when he was growing up, my dad was a young adult and he was a kid, and they lived in the same building. Like, it was like a duplex type building. So he knew my dad really well, and he told all these stories about him, and and so it was very interesting because it's like you see it from a whole different point of view. And so this cousin I have said that my dad was a really important role model in his life, and he told all these stories about that, and I never would have known that. And I'm not sure my dad knew that. Maybe he did, but I'm not sure that he did. And so sometimes our existence and the way we live our lives can have impacts on people that, we don't even realize. So I think having faith in that is another way to look at this.
I can't agree more with that, because it's just the way you live your life, and you don't realize how many people you touch or you inspire. It could be just something that you said. I do have a saying, like, do it scared, do it anyway. And I know it comes from another woman that I really admire, Sharon Lecter. But I would say that I say it a lot, and it seems to have passed on through some young women who have started their own businesses, or did something that was, a bit scary for them. Like for me, even like I went back to school in my 40s, like to do I have multiple different designations and education, but I really wanted this one degree, which was business administration. And, I had this fear that I couldn't do it. I'm like, oh, I'm too old. And I'm like, why am I thinking that? I would always thinking I'm too young or too old. And we have to move past these barriers. Like, they're so silly, right? And I don't really think most men think like this. So why do women, we really absorb this energy? And so anyway, I went for it. And unfortunately, my husband, Chloe's dad, had passed away suddenly within the last semester that I was studying. And I was working full time, raising my daughter, and I was teaching, which I haven't touched on, but I used to teach belly dance, which this is another story we can talk about. But I was doing all that in fitness instructing and all this, and I was doing everything. I don't know how I did it, but I did. And I remember the university said, if you want to take a pause, you can take a pause. And I said, no, because I need a distraction, but I also need to keep in motion. And I was using her dad really as motivation to get me through it. And not only did I get through it, and I was definitely going through a lot emotionally, obviously, with the loss and my daughter. But I remember, so I finished, and I completed, and I, graduated, and I got the email and all this stuff. And then McMaster kept calling me, and I'm like, what do they want? Because I didn't want to talk to anyone. Like, there was moments where I just didn't want to talk to anyone, like, so I was going through so much grief and just, exhausted, purely exhausted. And they finally, oh, you answered the phone. And they said, well, we just wanted to tell you that you won an award. And I said, I won an award. Won an award for what? So I actually had the highest GPA of all the business administration students, which is quite a big, quite large segment of students. And
and they're super competitive. So yeah.
I wasn't trying to be competitive at all. I mean, I'm competitive with myself, but I certainly didn't have that mindset.
Yeah.
And one of the subjects I remember I really do not love accounting, I'll be honest, but because I'd never actually taken that was one of my, but I graduated with high honors in that subject. So everything I had like a really high average, I'll just put it that way. So when I was really proud of myself, even my mom came to see me, and she's quite, getting up there, but at the time, so she has some health issues now, but it was really a proud moment for me, and a surprise. So it's a surprise what you can achieve when you just put one foot in front of the other, right? It doesn't have to be the highest or the, grade, or you have to be top of the class or the best, business person or getting awards. It's really for your own I say confidence, recognition for yourself, because you can catalog all these wins that you do. And sometimes we forget all the things that we've done. I was thinking about that even this morning. I'm like, we don't give ourselves enough credit. We have to be our own biggest fans, because there's always people ready to tear us down. And the biggest person that's tearing us down is ourselves. So that inside voice. So we have to sometimes make a list of all the little things. They could be little things, big things, being a good mother. Sometimes it's just like after something like a loss is getting up in the morning, right? But it can be, starting a business or volunteering, or, you don't realize those impacts that you do have on people. And I mentioned belly dance, which is funny because after my first husband passed away, the reason I mentioned this because you mentioned some, how you move on and so on. And I always loved dancing, and I always wanted to be a ballerina. Okay, I never became a ballerina. And my mom did not really approve of that sort of direction for me when I was young. So I never did pursue that or go to the National Ballet. Anyway, I was very depressed, and I knew in my head, logically, I needed to do something that was physically active that would make me happy. And then I saw this ad for belly dance, and I thought, oh, I don't need to know much to do that. I was very wrong about that. But I thoroughly became obsessed with it because I could really reinvent myself to be someone else. And sometimes that's what you need to do when you're going through loss or a hard time, is try to create this other persona. So that's exactly what I did. And not only did I do that, I became one of the top dancers in Canada, and I was like touring Turkey and all over the place. So I was I was just attracted to the beautiful, I thought, the music's very different, but also the costumes. And then I had my own flavor on it, and I exposed my daughter to it. So, and then I soon not only became performing everywhere, but I also was teaching, and I did fundraisers actually for the Halton Women's Place. That was and I did that at a very young age. I did 3 different shows, sold out. And I remember when I created the first show, I was like, I can't believe people are coming. I had like over 500 people. I just created this thing myself. So you just create, if you create something, is creativity, but it's also giving you purpose to propels you forward. And then I was like, oh my God, I have all these people coming up. Better make sure this is good, So, but then you create your own pressure, I suppose. But it was amazing. And what you're talking about impact, I think it was one of the last shows. I always, invited professionals. I had people from New York, Egypt, but I also had amateur dancers because I wanted real women to be on stage. And my mantra was always be comfortable in your own skin. And you have to learn to do that sometimes, because we're such, you could have the most perfect body and we're still critiquing ourselves. Yeah. But it's really strength in recognizing, well, this body works for me. It takes me from A to B, and I'm beautiful. And one of the women said, She was a larger woman, I guess what society would not deem as, a perfect 10, which is ridiculous. She was such a magnetic personality, and she came up to me and she said, for the first time in my life, I felt beautiful. Because she was up on stage, and that really it just almost made me cry, because I was like, that, then I've done what I wanted to do. Because I think every woman deserves to feel that way, no matter their age, shape, or size. So that's a big thing for me about elevating women. It's not just business, but it's also in your mindset. And of course, I love fashion and I love looking good, but you have to look good on the inside too. So
right, when you feel confident that way, you look different and you interact with the world different, so your life changes.
Yes.
So it has a ton of impact, and confidence is sexy.
Yes, it's the best. I think makeup you can wear or whatever accessory is confidence, and walking into a room with it. It doesn't matter short, tall, old, young, blonde, brunette. It doesn't matter. You walk in with that. And I always taught my daughter that. Walk in the room like you own it, even if you don't know anything. But be open in that energy, be open to others, and listen, right? Listening to others and hearing their stories. And I think don't just be interesting yourself, but be interested in others. Mm-hmm. That's a lesson I always talk to people about. So
yeah, well, a lot of the experiences you shared show that you're willing to do what it takes to achieve something. And I think a lot of people aren't willing to do what it takes. They don't stick with it. And they don't even know what's possible for them unless they do stick with it. And then they surprise themselves. I was talking to one of my newer students yesterday she's just starting a business, and she's never been a business owner before. And she's always been an employee working for others. And I said to her, what's going to happen is you just do the actions I'm teaching you. And one day you're going to look up and go, oh, I'm a business owner, and you're going to see that you really are, because you're doing all the actions. And that is how it happens. That's true with everything, whether it's belly dancing or scuba diving, or if you're willing to stay with it and practice and follow through, then you show yourself what you can do.
Exactly. It's like going to the gym. Obviously, if you go once a week or once a month, it's not going to have much effect. Mm-hmm. So it's the actions that you do take each and every day, and whether it's a mindset, whether it's a physical action, but actions build confidence, because you have more confidence in yourself that you can do it. But everybody starts from zero. So even the most successful people started with, zero experience. They may have had people in their life that helped them along the way, but they had to do the actions to become good at whatever they do. I don't know if it's 10,000 actions or whatever, repetitive body movements for someone to be good at something, whether it's, something on the computer, learning a program, or it's learning a dance move, for example. But I think that's important, is to take action. As I said, just put one foot in front of the other, and write down a list of things that maybe you want to do. That's about blue sky thinking, I guess, like thinking about, create a blue sky vision list of the things that you would like to do if you were not being held back, and then pick one or two and pick some actions that you could do each and every day to move forward for that goal.
Yes, and stay with it.
Stay with it, exactly.
With it.
And it can be hard, but stay with it, even if it's this small action. And I think too, is like you talked about your client there, and a lot of people have imposter syndrome. I really don't like that word either, but imposter syndrome. And say I am a business owner right from the beginning, and then do those actions, so you can start to live and breathe that DNA within yourself, right? Mm-hmm. And then you start to believe it, and it's not like you're forcing yourself to put on a costume that you're, a business owner. I think everybody, just whether it's a business owner or you want to be the next, NBA player, whatever it is, they had to practice to get there, right?
Yeah. I work with about 45 different small business owners, and what I find fascinating is that they all think they're the only ones struggling with whatever it is, right? So they're imagining everybody else has it all together and they're the only one. And it's pretty much all of them. They'll look at things this way. And so I think it's really helpful to give yourself credit for things you are good at, but also to realize that if you're struggling with something, you can get help. And for sure, there are other people struggling with it too. And it doesn't mean anything about you.
I can't agree more. You really do have to identify your strengths, and sometimes I wouldn't say they're weaknesses, maybe challenges, at things that you're not in your best zone, I guess. So you can delegate those and learn, or have somebody help you learn, so you can do enough to get by on those specific tasks. And then when you're ready, you can hire people to do that, or volunteer somebody, depending.
Or you discover that you actually can be good at it,
Exactly.
which happens a lot, right?
Yeah, it
Sometimes
does.
it's simply a matter of not having the experience or the feedback.
I agree totally. That is very, very true. Very good point. So I think, yeah, and finding your zone of genius too is a great start, though. And then expanding on that, having that blue sky thinking, like, okay, I can do this. There's so many things that I remember thinking, oh my God, but I always thought, if I can do this, I can do this. If I went through this, I could do this. Or, if someone else can do it, then why not me? Right. So I think that's another, mindset. I always say, well, why not me? Why not? I don't think that, people think sometimes it's just for these people that they're overnight successes or whatever. No.
Yeah, it doesn't exist.
No, it does not exist.
They just don't tell you, but it doesn't exist.
Exactly. Yeah. I think expansive thinking, growth mindset is so key. It doesn't matter what age you are, what skill level you are. I deal with many different types of clients, and a lot of them do have that, I would say, imposter syndrome, where they're thinking they're not good enough compared to the competitor. But believe me, their competitors are struggling, even if they've been around for years, often with similar problems, maybe not on the same scale, but the similar problems. So I think it's really key to understand that, yeah, you're not the only one. But you control your own world and your own direction. So you can change your world and change your mindset if you just keep going forward. Go contact people that you think that can help you. Cultivate a circle that you really trust. I have a very small circle now that are close to me, and these are people that I know that have had their challenges in life, but they've overcome them, or they have something that I really very much admire. I never want to be the smartest person in the room. I never want to be, quote unquote, the strongest. I want to be around people that can help inspire me. And we constantly evolve. So as we evolve, sometimes, we keep those same friends, and sometimes we also expand and meet new people. I think that's another key thing, is don't be afraid to meet new people. Don't be afraid to expand your circle. Step out of your comfort zone, because if you're not growing, you're not evolving. And I think that's important.
Yeah, and the more different kinds of people you meet, the more ways of life you get to learn about, which I think is, as a business owner, it's fascinating, because you get to meet all kinds of people and who do all kinds of things. And if you worked at the same job for your whole life, you probably wouldn't be exposed to that diversity. So it opens your mind to a lot.
Well, meeting you, because the word hypnosis, people always have these like preconceptions of what that is. And as I've done marketing and PR, but I'm a very curious person. So, but I had still, these preconceptions. I was like, I want to find out more about what this is all about, and how can I use this and leverage that in my own life and business perhaps as well. And I used to be very, very shy. A lot of people don't know that about me.
Yeah, I wouldn't have known that, Kristina. Me too, but I think you can tell that more about me than about you.
I don't know. I find, what authenticity, and you listen. Like, one thing I noted about you is that you really do listen and absorb what people are saying. And I think that is very much a leadership quality, and that you're interested in people. But I can see, people don't ever believe that. It's funny, but then I used to be so afraid of meeting new people, and I'm like, oh, why am I afraid? And then I would like reverse psychologize, and I would be like, that's not a word I know, but I'd be like, well, they should impress me. But that's being a bit full. It's not really about being full. I'm like, why am I worried about impressing everybody? I don't need to impress anybody. I just need to be myself.
Yeah.
And I think that is really key, is like, be yourself, be authentic. Don't try to become something, unless you want to become that persona, okay, maybe, but you should still be authentic to yourself, because people can spot people that are inauthentic, ingenuous, or disingenuous. I think that's the right word.
Disingenuous. Yeah. I am the spelling and grammar Nazi.
Thank you.
So I hope that was helpful.
It was. I'll take that away, and I'm sure you'll correct me again, so I'll probably use it again. But I think you got what I was trying to say. So I think, yeah, be your true self, but don't be afraid to also evolve from where you are now and to grow into what you're meant to be. And I think, for me, because I went through a lot of different stages of loss and grief, those were almost like different, they were definitely different lives, and they were different women, I guess, in some respect. But when I'm moving forward, I'm not saying, oh, I throw away who I was, or that wasn't valuable, or that person, I mean, I've been through so much different challenges in my life, like most people, right? But you learn and you build on those experiences, and then you can continue to grow and expand. It's just like a plant. I love flowers. If you don't water them, they're not going to grow. And you want your flowers to bloom. You want them to grow. You don't want them to be like little dead petunias in your pot. You want a big bush, right?
And sometimes you need to transfer them to a bigger pot because the pot they're in is too small. So so there are all kinds of metaphors we can find with plants for sure.
Yes, the ocean and plants. And it's really about life and growth, and and even our plants have storms and droughts. So we have to figure out ways to be resilient and go through those. I don't know, I'm kind of going on a tangent now, but.
Well, I'd like to add something, because as you talk about authenticity, my experience has been that if you're authentically on your mission, that's where the magic is, because who are you really? I mean, we're really just a combo of the things we do every day. So we need some sense of direction to guide us with that. And so I think if we have that clear mission in mind, even if it's a really loose one, right? Or it could be very specific. Like, I have a very specific mission in the work I do, which is to help people make their lives better and show themselves what they're capable of and be on their mission. That's my mission. And so it guides me, and it helps me have courage to go and, for me, I am a shy person. So to go and be social and meet people, which is how we met, Christina,
yes,
right? We met through the Chamber of Commerce. And so I used to be really, really shy and nervous about going to those types of events. And I learned how to do it because the mission compelled me to keep going. And I think that's a really helpful way to look at all of that.
Absolutely. And mine, I could say pain can propel me towards purpose, but it doesn't have to be pain. It could be just, that you feel I have something bigger than me that I want to accomplish. Mm-hmm. And I hear you, like, I think that's amazing. And that will propel you to go past your comfort zone. And for me, I mean, I always want to help people get their message across. That's what marketing and PR is, and build visibility and credibility to help them accelerate their business. But it goes even deeper, because I do have a passion for elevating women, which is why I'm starting WomanUp. It's about sharing stories, but it's also really helping women just understand that they can do it too. And, they have a voice, and their voice is important. Their stories are important. And, it's okay to have ambition. And with ambition, you can create impact, right? So my personal mission is to help women feel, empowered. I don't even like the word empowered, but powered up, because powered up to be their best. And it's just, a ripple effect, right? So when one woman shows another woman how to do something or succeed another, and it just keeps going, right? And I worked in corporate, so I worked in the banks and financial institutions. I even worked as VP of marketing and communications and investor relations, all kinds of things in the cannabis space of all things. So I've had a very diverse career, but I always had a saying, because I often was the only woman at the table, so to speak, is shoot that elevator back down and bring a woman up, because we have more power together. And we have to I really encourage women, like, work together, unite together, find out how you can help each other. Men are very good at networking, because we're talking about networking. They create their power cells, I guess you could, so to speak, and they help each other in business and promotions and so on. And I think it's very important for women to advocate for other women, so, support, whether it's word of mouth, whether it's helping a woman get a promotion or being an advocate, whether it's in a business like setting, a corporate setting, or business, or even personally, a woman's going through a hard time, be there for her to the capacity that you can. So I think these things are all very important for, as I say, to WomanUp. I came up with that because it's all about elevation, like blue sky thinking, rising above. So that's really the thought process for that. And I think it's inspiring when you share stories, and your own story too, when you shared your story, that where you came from and where you are now.
Yeah. I just want to add one more point, which is that when I started this business when my older son was a baby, and he woke me up every 2 hours for his first 2 years. I started at the business when he was a year and a half, so I was very sleep deprived. It was not easy, and I remember seeing my colleagues do a whole bunch of things that I just couldn't do because I was mostly home with this baby, and right there was only so much I could participate. And so I felt really like I was comparing myself to them and felt not as confident or valuable because of that. And so, but it's interesting to see how things played out because I just kept going and doing my thing. And now I've surpassed all of them. So it's like I think it's important to, and that may or may not happen, but instead of comparing to other people, or I think I got in my own way because I would judge myself, or wonder if I measure up, or if I'm good enough, or am I, are they going to kick me out because I'm not doing what everybody else is doing? If we instead really, as women, support each other and value what we are doing and trust the long game of it, right? It was, for me, it was really the long game, because in the short game at that time, I was not winning, but I was making progress every day, even though I wasn't doing a lot. And there were a lot of really important life lessons that served me from having to go through that, right? Because it's not easy to have a baby and be sleep deprived and start a business all at once. But at the time, I just was doing my thing. I didn't really see what I was doing.
Yeah, that is a really great share, because I can totally empathize with the colicky baby, because I had one too, and that's when I had left the bank at the time to start my own business. But I think this is really important point, is the long game, and comparison is, it's really hard, especially with social media these days. Where you're comparing people's vacations to, what they're doing in their work and their business. Of course, people aren't always sharing the hardships or the challenges. They're sharing their wins, which is great. But at the end of the day, the only person you should be, I guess, competing against is yourself. So every day trying to be better, trying to do one more thing. It doesn't have to be a big thing, and don't beat yourself up when you aren't achieving where you think you're going to be, because sometimes what you can accomplish in, say, 1 year or 2 years or 3 years is not where you want to be. But what you can accomplish in 10 years, if you keep going, stick with it, is what you said before. As I always say, one foot in front of the other. And we talked about direction too, having that GPS, that purpose of where you want to go. I mean, sometimes we do change the destination, but if we don't have any destination, that's where you end up driving into a ditch or something. So if you don't have, where you get totally lost, and sometimes that's once in a while okay for an exploration, but at the end of the day, you should have some clarity of where you want to go. And I think that will help you get where you want to go and stick with the long game, as you said.
Yeah, and if you see people who are achieving more or doing a better job than you can be inspired and model what they're doing to help you improve without feeling bad about it. I think that that's also very important, and
Yes.
put a frame around where you're at. So when I had the baby, I wasn't really putting a frame around it and going, oh, I'm really making this choice right now to only do these things. I was making that choice, but I wasn't at peace with the choice. So I think that making peace with whatever choice you're making really helps, because then you're free to focus on what you're doing and feel good and confident about that.
And that is also an excellent point. Like I was comparing myself to other moms, and I was working, and I didn't have time to make cookies and do things, and like for whatever the school sale was, and I used to think I was a failure. But we just have to beat to our own drum sometimes, and I think that's okay. And just it's good to model people, but do it in your way. Obviously, you can have your own flavor. If you were talking about authenticity before, if you try to be an exact replica of someone else and how they're doing it, it's never going to work completely. So take what works for you from them, model that, but do it in your own way. And it is hard, the comparison game, but right now I'm really focusing as much as I can. Like, for example, social media, I want to, instead of consuming it all the time, use it so it works to your advantage. But also, instead of consuming it, all the time I have to create something before I consume it. So that's like one of my action steps right now that I'm sticking to right now.
Smart. Yes.
So, and that could be, it doesn't have to be an Instagram post or a LinkedIn post. I love LinkedIn, but it could be doing something like this, like a podcast, which I think is a fabulous platform because on so many levels of the marketing end, of course, because I'm like, not only are you sharing your voice, you're meeting new people, making connections. You can also share each other's, if you're on each other's show, but also the SEO, and it's got long, evergreen kind of content that can live, right? So, and your voice, it's like recorded for history, like a legacy, right? So it's kind of nice, even if you have children that can listen to it. My mom is getting older, for example, and I wish, that I'm trying to get her to record her memoirs, and we're writing a book about her life. But I think having legacy and putting yourself out there for others, we talked about this, kind of going back to that inspiration. But I think it's giving people the permission that they can be different, they can go out of their comfort zone, and have that blue sky mentality, blue sky thinking, and once in a while do a deep dive too into the blue ocean. So, but whatever works for you, those metaphors, right?
Your mission doesn't have to be like other people's mission, and you don't have to do what other people do. And there are all kinds of great moms. So I think if you're out there living your life and being a great role model for your kids in some capacity. My mother-in-law, so when my husband's an only child, and when he was a kid, she worked full time, and he would say to her, well, the other moms bake the kids cookies. Why don't you bake me cookies? And she hates baking. So not only did she work full time, but she's like not baking. Even if she was home full time, she wouldn't have baked. So she took him to the grocery store, and she took him to the cookie aisle. She said, this is so much better. You can choose from all these different kinds of cookies. So she really owned it.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot from her about that. She's very confident that way, where she owns her choices and looks at things that way. So I think that's a really good example of how, as women and moms, we can really carve our own path and be confident in it, whatever that path happens to be. She's allowed to know that baking cookies doesn't make her a bad mom.
Yeah.
Great. So tell people how they can connect with you or learn more about your services.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, thank you. They can reach me on LinkedIn. It's one of my favorite platforms. That's the best way to reach me right now. I'll share the other ones because I'm sharing, building out some new Instagram profiles and a landing page for WomanUp, which I really would love people to connect with me. But reach out if you want to share your story or just want to connect with me. Kristina with a K, Kristina. So Kristina with a K, Shea, Shea. I say Kristina with a K, Shea like the butter. So you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, and then I'll share some links later that you can always add if you wish to the podcast later.
Yeah, we'll include it. We'll include everything with the show notes so people know how to connect with you.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I look forward to connecting, and thank you so much, Robbie, for having me here on the show. This has been such a delightful pleasure. Who knew when I first met you that I'd be on a podcast with you? Who knew that I would meet and then have, a hypnosis session with you with that group session? That was amazing. So as I said, you never know what happens when you connect with people. So say hello, get out of your box, and do some blue sky living.
Awesome. Love it. Yeah, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.
If you're interested in connecting with me and learning about personal and business coaching, consulting, and training opportunities, go to mindlinkconsulting.com or hypnosistrainingcanada.com and schedule your free consultation. Let us know what you think of the show. Reach out to us at mindlinkconsulting.com. And if you like this show, please rate and review us so other people can find us too. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Robbie Spier Miller, the host of the Habit of Possibility podcast. Tune in next time to learn more about how you can turn obstacles into opportunities and make the most of your life and career.